Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm watching RuPaul's Drag Race. So, okay, this was episode 11. We are down to 7 queens.
We have 4 episodes left. I looked on IMDb today, unless there's a wild card somewhere.
They'll find a way to take 6 weeks.
We have 4 episodes left. And they're rapid fire.
So, this was the commercial one, which to my understanding, to my limited understanding, is a recurring segment. I found this episode to be very enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree.
I think all 7 queens were funny.
Yeah.
Even if the results were varied.
So yeah, they were all funny, but it's like, it's the type of thing where it's like, you can recognize that someone is funny and still be like, but you're not my vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not my funny vibe. I understand that why you think it's funny, and I can recognize the humor in it.
Well, there's the extra layer because we're given the premise of the commercials, but not like the script. So we're watching them try to direct and star in these commercials.
And they only get 30 minutes, which is like insane.
Is that it?
Yeah, they were like, you each have 30 minutes to direct a 45-second commercial, which it doesn't feel...
It's not a lot of time.
That's not a lot. I mean, commercials can take days to film.
But no, so we're kind of like watching half of it's very half baked while we're watching it, and a good chunk of the fun is watching Carson and Ross try and help out and stuff. But no, I think these queens are all very funny. I mean, do we start with Tina?
Hell yeah!
I don't care. We can start with Tina.
She was eliminated.
Yeah.
She was sent packing. I'm trying to not be a dick. Like, I'm trying to not pile on because I don't have any reason to think she's like a bad person.
No.
But something feels off.
Yeah.
There was just, and maybe it's the competition.
It doesn't.
Maybe some people aren't cut out for this competition.
Something about Tina doesn't feel sincere, and something about Tina doesn't feel like she's all the way there. And also something about Tina just feels very red, orange, and yellow in a way that I cannot get behind.
Well, but it's her inability to transition to the reality show format.
Yeah.
Many people have commented on, because there was a writer, I can't remember the name, writer I follow on Twitter, is like lives in New York, and he was like, I've seen her pantomime finger blasting audience members in New York. It's very funny. And he was like, and it is not translating here.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what it is, if it's like the thing is I keep on thinking maybe it's like the body Mae West part of it isn't translating, but Nina West did so good at that. And so I also don't know what it is that's not translating, but whatever Tina Burner is bringing is not showing up on
So actually, what I actually think it was, now that we've seen, witnessed the most of the arc, the whole arc, I think Tina is performing.
Yeah. Like as Tina.
Reality show contestant.
Sure.
Because all of her confessionals feel very self-produced and very...
Oh my God, because, okay, here's the thing, is that's what I felt like I was reading from Kandy this whole time. But the further we get into Kandy, the more I feel like that's Kandy's real personality. And the more we get into Tina, the more I feel like you're right, that is produced.
You've
in some
scripted
way.
This mentally somewhere.
100%. You're totally right.
I think that's probably what ended up being the issue, because she was very, very rattled in Untucked tonight. And I think it's because she realized that she wasn't in control the way she had been pretending to be. Yeah. And
she's also one of the oldest queens left in this season, because it was Tamisha, but then I think it was Tamisha and then Tammy or Tina. So I think it was those two that were the oldest queens, and so that's got to be a little bracing for sure.
I think that's because when they like deemed themselves the Mean Girls, I'm like, this is like not cute 3 ways over. You know what like? For starters, passe. Second of all, like, the moniker Mean Girl is given to you. You don't appropriate that for yourself. Yeah, you don't
and in that case, the only one it was like working cute for was Gottmik. So I'm sort of like, I don't know what you think you're doing.
And the Kandy, I just genuinely think Kandy is funny.
I do.
That's where I'm at with Kandy, because I think her drag is medium.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this was.
The runway was really weird. And also in her commercial, first of all, at the beginning, I thought it was called, what did I think it was, Pussy Soda or something? I don't know
what you called it.
I don't know what she said, but it sounded like, this is my pussy soda. And I was like, I beg your pardon.
The K special was what it was.
Which was pretty funny.
And it was one of the more successful ones. But it's that part. It's like the way she was sort of like acting in the beginning, and I don't know what the purse was, but it was so funny. It was like a Barbie purse.
Because Olivia Lux had a smallish purse too, but it wasn't that tiny. And like Kandy's was so tiny. It was like this big. It was so funny.
And it just like, but she does still get on my nerves because like the beginning of this episode was like about Olivia. Like Olivia was sort of like, usually the queen that stays gets their kind of like, whew, that was rough. And like next thing I knew, it was about Kandy. Like Kandy had so completely taken over. And I was like, okay, I don't know. But
which was especially weird because I was actually looking forward to the moment where, I mean, and it didn't, it's not like it didn't happen, but I was looking forward to the moment where Olivia was like, I understand why you all said me.
Well, she did. And Kandy was like, Kandy was like, I would never behave that way. Ergo, that's bullshit. And I was like, well,
no, I mean,
there's a performance to Olivia.
100%. 100%.
But it looks like Utica, where there's like a weird performance to Utica.
Yeah.
But I think the bulk of it is authentic. So, Utica.
God love you. But
I do. I'm shocked. I was pleasantly surprised that RuPaul kept her, especially over Tina.
Same.
Because the reality is that Tina did the better lip sync.
Utica is more interesting all around.
Utica, yeah. And it
even if she's weird and off-putting, there's more to her.
And more skilled. For
sure. And it was like I said while we were watching, where I was like, I am so here for the 50s aesthetic. You could have got me there 100% of the way with the 50s housewife aesthetic. You could have got me there, but it was just so like tried and boring and like strawberry shortcake that I just like, I got so tired of it. Mm-hmm. Utica at least delivers something that is weird and quirky every week.
Well, and there's also like a heavy glamour factor where Utica is usually very, very glamorized. Yeah. And I think Olivia was spot on when she was sort of like diagnosing Utica, where she was like, Utica knows her strengths, but I think Olivia's like, I think she sort of relies on like, weirdness. I'm just going to go be weird and trust that it'll pay off. Because when they
have to back up the weird with some kind of substance.
When they were critiquing the commercial, they were like, I mean, it was funny. It was Utica weirdness, but it's the it's actually why the commercial is interesting and actually challenging, because you have to represent yourself, but you do also have to coherently sell a product.
Right.
And it can be silly. I mean, the Heidi last season with the tears of a drag queen.
That was hilarious.
Or the Jackie Cox with the Merkins. It's like, no one's
I forgot about the Merkins.
No one's actually trying to buy this, but you established a need.
Sure.
You explained it followed the
Well, and I think for me, and for the judges, the ones who like read the brief and did the brief the most consistently was Symone and Rose. It was like, they were like, this is the reason, this is the thing you take to fix the thing, and conclusion.
Well, yeah.
Which is just like, you state what your paper's about, you explain why your paper's about that, and you restate why your paper's about that.
It's the kind of thing that it's like, it seems, and I don't know how I want to say it, but it's simultaneously simpler and harder than it sounds.
Sure.
Because you gotta keep it simple.
Yes.
Because that's where Gottmik fucked up.
Yeah.
Gottmik's was funny. And it was she executed what she was trying to, but it was not coherent.
It was at least one layer too deep.
Or two layers that were half baked,
yeah.
Because she couldn't explain why you would want a product that only makes you feel better.
It's
like that was incidental and not the point.
It's like that Amy Schumer movie, that I Feel Pretty.
Sure. Where it's like, absolutely.
Amy Schumer is like a pretty enough person, but it's like she has then the confidence of like Giselle. And that's the thing where it's like, it wasn't made clear that it was just your own confidence that was improved. It wasn't like your actual self. And I think, to be totally frank, I think part of the issue is that Gottmik is just hot.
Well, so she was talking and I thought it was great, but she was like, that challenge in particular, she was like 2 years ago, this would have triggered my like dysphoria left and right.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Looking too pretty, but then looking ugly, but then looking too feminine, but then looking and she was like, and through doing this, I've been able to really sort of embrace, because it's true. She actually just, I mean, it's a trite comparison at this point, but she looks like Paris
Hilton for sure.
And she was so funny with the water bottle, especially like this. And so that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, so her commercial didn't succeed at what it was trying to.
It wasn't 100% successful at the brief, but it was successful.
That clip is going to be in clip shows
100%,
for like, I mean, that's going to be a drag race. Like,
yeah. I also do love that. I mean, I generally love when the queens get like emotional about their real lives. And I think adding the extra layer of Gottmik being trans is even another thing that really is like, it's not what we're used to. That is a whole thing that we're not, necessarily, everybody's not equipped to deal with that. And I do love that
it's certainly not like
well-trod territory for sure. And I do love that, and that Gottmik is bringing that. And so even if that's the only thing that came out of Gottmik staying around, like that's great. But I also do think that like the drag is there, like the face and the look. I mean, that purple weird monster, so good.
Well, because it was also pretty.
Very
and
pretty,
so it's like, that's where like.
And I did love Michelle's comment, which was like, your makeup is different, but
it still
had the lips, those like kind of smiley lips at the side. I love Gottmik.
Well, because that's where I'm at. Well, and I mean, to mention kind of what you were saying about how getting to see the actual like progression and get to see growth and stuff like that. I think the queen that we've seen the most growth from this season has been Rosé.
I agree.
Because we always thought he was hot. But
he's fucking hot. Also, if anybody who's watching this knows what his Scottish tattoo says, I'd love to know, because I can't get a long enough glimpse of it. Thank you.
But because remember in the beginning he was sort of pegging like shady, like
bitchy and shady, bitchy. Yeah, for sure.
And it's
as it's gone on though, there's such like a warmth in there, and like a want to be liked, and that's very endearing.
And I think that like a lot of people come into competitions like this and approach it as, I'm the best and I'm going to show you. And I think
Tina Burner.
I think some of the people that are better at competitions like this are the people that really use it and embrace it as a chance to get better.
And a growing experience, which I think for the most part, all of the queens that we have left are doing that. I have seen the growth and I've experienced the like movement, and it is honestly the kind of thing that I'm the most annoyed that Denali went home last week, because I think there was still growth in Denali in this competition. And so that's the thing where I am very disappointed that we didn't get Denali in this commercial, because she would have done like a hilarious ice wine thing or something, like a Canadian ice wine thing. I'm just like, I'm so desperate for like Denali's soda
for what that would have been.
But I do feel a lot of growth from the queens, even, I mean, very early, and we got a decent amount of heat for it, and we are not a big channel right now on YouTube, but we got a decent amount of heat for our early, like, shade against Kandy. But I have felt a lot of growth from Kandy, and I actually really like Kandy now, and I don't necessarily think she's going to make it to the top 4, but I like her a lot, and I think she's going to go on to a very robust career. And that's the kind of thing where I feel that growth in her as a person, even when she was being kind of a bitch, like, in the Untucked last week at the beginning of this week. But it was warranted this time.
Well, she also has a tendency to sort of like, she comes, she slays, like I'm floundering that.
I will be totally honest. Her runway look was not for me this week.
Oh, it was
pretty
hideous. There was nothing about it that worked. It was
not great.
And it looked like Tina did her makeup. It was ugh.
I saw what she was going for. I got what she was going for. It did not work.
I was with Michelle, but no. What I was attempting to say is with her like outbursts, I think you reach a point where it's just Kandy being Kandy. Yeah. Where it's sort of like, let her say her piece and then move on and everything's fine. And
well, but I also think that her piece has gotten more focused as the season has gone. So it was like, she said her piece in this episode and I was like, no, I get it. I totally get it. I think she had a reason to be a little annoyed with Denali even before Denali explained herself, I guess, because she was like, I don't know, Gottmik looks kind of like Tina Burner. And I was like, well, she doesn't, but I understood the critique and then the reasoning why she did it. So the fact that she kept piling on was a little bit iffy, but I appreciated this outburst more than I did the one against Tamisha. So,
because as we're getting down to it, as we're getting to the winner, for me, the thing about winner is not so much like, I'm trying to think of how I want to explain this. It's not that I see it as like preordained. It's like, a lot of it for me is timing.
Sure.
And it's like, because someone, like for instance, Utica, we think Utica's great, but it's like, Utica's not in a place to win right here. Right. Whereas, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is Symone's world and we're all living in it.
Agreed.
It's like, or even someone like Olivia. It's like, Olivia, I believe in some reality could win RuPaul's Drag Race, but I don't think it's now. Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I totally
think
agree.
She needs several more years.
Yeah, so I think Olivia is like several years behind like Jaida Essence Hall, who was kind of a pageant queen too. And I think Utica is several years behind Evie Oddly, and that's the kind of thing where it's like you have to keep honing in order to get to a place where you can win. But at this point,
because Symone, at this point, for me, is the triple threat. What is the one thing she can't do? Dance really well. And it's like, that's the lowest on
But she can dance well enough to win a lip sync. We've already seen it.
I mean, the between her commercial being the best.
Amazing.
And beginning, middle, and end, it just made sense. And she was so funny with the, like... And she also understood she understood her own script. Yeah. She understood the direction. Like,
she didn't make it too complicated. Even so, I really liked Rosé's commercial too. But even Rosé took it like one step too far, and it really was. Symone really was like, "This is what the drink is. This is what it does. Here's the punchline," and that was it. And then she was like, "And I'm out."
I love that she was just like a furry. That she was just like a sexy fox.
She was giving me like Lola Bunny vibes, but a fox.
Yeah,
I was into it.
So at this point, I mean, my top three, it does have to be. I guess it's Rosé. I still think Rosé hasn't fully delivered in the actual like runway challenges. But everything else, I think
tonight she did.
When she joked about herself with the
which was very important, especially for Michelle. And Michelle even commented on it. Michelle was like, "I feel like this was for me specifically." But I really appreciate that, and that goes back to the growth conversation where it's like Rosé has taken the notes on board. She has, done something different with her runway. She has poked fun at herself in like a commercial and looked a fool. And I think that's really important. And it is, I think, a different thing than Symone just being consistently amazing. Like being able to grow into a place where you're able to do that to yourself is very impressive.
I just think I think Symone has
100%
every step of the way she's done it all right. So my front runners are probably Symone, Gottmik, and Rosé in that order, and then I would probably put Olivia at fourth.
That's my top four currently. That's what I was about to say it when we were sitting out there, and I was like, I just feel like there can't be another top four. It has to be those four. I don't think there's any other
I've
option.
just resigned myself to the fact that we're getting Kandy.
In place of who?
I don't know.
Wow. I would be honestly surprised, but I guess we'll see.
I mean, that's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
I actually straight up love this episode. I thought it was great. I really.
I remembered. I was going to say something Rosé. I was going to say, because also the way that Rosé had the character, because when Tina was sort of like bottoming out and untucked,
yeah,
because Tina got snippy, and Rosé let it.
She really did. She
and continued,
off a duck.
continued to be like, okay, let's.
Well, and I just like Tina literally was like, "What do you guys think?" And Rosé was like, "This is what I think." And Tina was like,
"Oh, really, Rosé?"
She called her name to her face, which is a huge pet peeve of mine.
So
I hate it. I don't know why. I think people shouldn't do that.
So, so we got 6 left.
Yep.
And
pretty good top 6 too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then I guess join us next week and follow us and like and subscribe and comment, and can head to soimwatching.com if you want to link out to any of our shit.
At So I'm Watching on Twitter, at So I'm Watching the Show on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Bye.
Both my nostrils itch. It was like at the same time.
I literally just looked over and you're double barreling it. I'm dead.